What was the lawsuit outcome between Young Living and doTERRA? Well, this is part two, so if you haven't watched part one, make sure to do that. And there's also going to be part three and potentially more. But stay tuned for part two and don't go anywhere. Hey, this is Lance McGowan and
Malie Simpson.
And we're going to talk about part two of the Young Living versus doTERRA lawsuit and the outcome that came about with more of the, basically, part of the transcripts from the actual court trial. And so we're going to get into that as we continue to read the press release that doTERRA had. Again, what we said in the first part was we tried to look at, the information from both sides, actually all three sides, which would be doTERRA, Young Living. If they don't have a press release at the time of making this video, and then we try to look at what the court actually was able to provide us as well. And so I'm going to have links in the description for more information on what was available. Okay, so this isn't the end-all be-all video, people. Okay, so there's more to come. There'll be maybe a part 4 and a part 5 and more parts as I get more information.
Yeah, we know a lot of people just had questions surrounding this, so we wanted to get these videos out as soon as possible. And this is what the information that we have so far, and that is all fact-based, all from the court and from doTERRA's press release.
Yes, that's right. All right, so when you go to the website for the press release, which I'll have in the description as well, it just basically says background. The Young Living trial against doTERRA commenced on May 22nd, 2017 in the 4th Judicial Court in Provo, Utah, with Judge Christine Johnson presiding. Again, I'll have a link in the description so you can get more information on that.
Long before the trial even began, all of the claims against doTERRA had already been thrown out. So all the claims against many other named defendants also had been dismissed.
Okay, that's really huge. And when you look at that, only 4 individual defendants remained. So it was David Sterling, which is the CEO of doTERRA, and one of the founders, Emily Wright, which is one of the founders as well of doTERRA, Justin Harrison, he's one of the master distributors within doTERRA, and then Lil Shepard, who's also a wellness advocate within doTERRA too.
Right. At issue in the trial, there was 13 total allegations, with David, Emily, Justin, and Lil breached their respective and non-solicitation clauses. These clauses prevented them from soliciting any Young Living employees or distributors to join another company within the specified period of time, which was 6 months for David and Emily and 1 year for Justin and Lil after they left Young Living.
Okay, so there was some, contractual stuff that had to be maintained after you leave a company, kind of like a non-compete. I know companies do that, so that's very common. Yeah, very common. Okay, so public court records now confirm that in 2007, David, Emily, Justin, and Lil were all employed by Young Living, but they were becoming increasingly dissatisfied and outright offended by the way Young Living was conducting its business, which we will go into some more detail right here.
All right. Because of Gary Young's outrageous practices, Young Living's unequal and discriminatory pay for women, the diminishing quality of many of the Young Living essential oils, and Young Living's relentless pressure to lie about the output of the Young Living farms to prop up the emergent seed to sale marketing scheme, each of them left Young Living.
So now we kind of have some statements here that were made, and we want to kind of support some of those with the transcripts from the court actual case that was happening during this time. Okay, so basically these individuals were sworn into the court, so they had to by law, tell the truth here. So, for example, sworn testimony revealed that Emily, who was the only woman on Young Living's executive board, was being paid half of what the men on the board were being paid because Gary Young didn't respect women and didn't think women should be in management roles. As chief operations officer at Young Living, David Sterling tried to raise Emily's compensation many times, but Gary Young fought him on every attempt to do that. Eventually, David was fired in part because of his efforts to support equal pay for equal work. And that's what we're all about, right? We want to be equal pay, equal work, regardless of what gender, nationality, life situation, education, age situation, anything, right? But to see that happened back during that time is, a little sad to hear.
Right. It also says Mary Young, who is Gary Young's wife, in a letter to Emily that was admitted as evidence, summed up the Young's philosophy. Gary Young may say things we think he shouldn't say, and maybe he talks too much about God, and maybe he goes too far with his own philosophy or his preaching. But I have come to the conclusion that this is his right. If we don't like it or the distributors don't like it, then that's just too bad.
And that is coming from the now CEO of Young Living, kind of the in-place CEO, which is his wife. And, we believe in God. I'm a God-fearing man. Like, it's so important to, try to live out biblical principles for me. And at the same time, but to get kind of like an excuse card for this type of behavior is not okay. And that's actually not biblical. I mean, we should be treating women as equals with regards to their worth and their value, because that's how God created us, all equals, brothers and sisters in Christ. But at the same time, like, that is not good. And the reason why we ultimately bring that up is because the founders and the companies they create cultures, and when they leave, it's what culture remains is what determines what happens. And so it's so important to have culture, a culture of equality.
Right.
Really.
Yes. We have freedom of religion in this country. We definitely shouldn't push our beliefs or our religion onto anyone else, especially not our employees.
Right. Yeah. But at the same time, acknowledge that they have value and worth as well.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a transcript here between the two, one of the attorneys and Emily Wright. And he says, at some point in time, did he stop paying? And this is from Steve Smith.
Okay, so then from Emily Wright, he cut my portion in half, paid the other three gentlemen on the executive board what they were rightly to be paid on that correct, cut mine in half.
The attorney then said, did you understand that one of the reasons that David Sterling was fired is because he wanted you to get paid the amount of money you were entitled to in your agreement?
Emily said yes.
Attorney, was that a little upsetting for you that someone would get fired over trying to save your pay?
Emily, yes.
Attorney, did Gary Young ever tell you why he decided to drop your incentive compensation in half despite your written agreement?
Emily, Gary Young didn't respect women and didn't think we should be in management roles.
Well, I would disagree with Gary because women are great leaders. They have empathy that, in general, men don't have. I mean, women are nurturers by nature. Having to birth something, have something for 9 months, birth it, men don't have to do that. They just kind of helped get the seed, plant the seed, right? But the mom had to grow it and do everything, feed it.
I might be a little biased. I've had 4 kids myself.
Right? Yeah. So I know there's a lot to go into that. And I think women leaders bring a lot to the table, is my point. And they have insight and intuition that men don't. So I think paying them equally based on that should be the case as well.
Very true.
All right, so this is another sworn testimony by Young Living founder Gary Young. With regards to Young Living Seed to Seal program, it was revealed as a farce. Even worse, Mr. Young wanted employees to not only condone but promote this grossly misleading marketing ploy. The employees who refused to get on board were persecuted and ultimately fired. David Sterling, for example, testified that Young Living obtained less than 1% of its oils from company farms and that the vast majority of the oils were being purchased through brokers. Despite Mr. Young's earlier testimony that a big majority of Young Living's oils came from its 15 farms, a simple Google Earth search today on the size of their fields and yield per acre would reveal that Mr. Young's assertion was impossible and is even more outrageous today. And we'll share why that is. Indeed, we'll discuss the cross-examination right now between Mr. Young and let it speak for itself. So this is now the transcript of the between the lawyer and Gary. So okay. We'll do that. All right, so from the lawyer, Mr. Smith, he says, "That's a lie. You don't grow a majority of your oils, do you, sir?"
Gary says, "I don't know the exact percentages, but I know we grow a big percent of our own oils."
Attorney, when you told the juror your company grew a majority, that would mean more than 51%, right?
Gary, that would be correct.
Attorney, and that's a lie?
Gary, I don't believe it is.
Attorney, when you had confrontations with your management, who was Emily Wright and David Sterling at the time, they refused to participate in your claimed seed to seal because you did not grow the oil that you were claiming publicly.
Gary, that is false.
Attorney, and since then, up to today, when you told this jury a moment ago you continue to sell a majority of your oils, that is now especially untrue because of the amount of oil you now sell, right? You've grown in size by 10 or 12 times, correct?
Gary, yes, that is correct.
Attorney, and you haven't bought 10 or 12 as many farms, right?
Gary, from the day before?
Attorney, from the day that they were there in 2007 to current, there aren't 10 or 12 as many farms bought by Young Living.
Gary, no.
So David Sterling's sworn testimony further makes this point. Attorney, by Mr. Smith. Sure, Mr. Young may have given testimony in this case that said he grew the vast majority of his oils on farms he identified it as being in Idaho, Utah, and France, and in Oman, I think in Ecuador. Those were the ones. Was that true at the time? Was Young Living growing the vast majority of its oils on farms opened by Young Living?
So the witness, Dave Sterling, says the farm in France was 25 acres. The farm in Idaho was a very small farm as well. It was just simply mathematic calculations. If anybody ever did that, it was very, very clear that less than 1% of the oil that they were selling could have come from those farms.
That's very eye-opening right there. And this is coming from Dave Sterling, who was the chief operations officer. So he knew about procurement. He knew about where the oils were coming in and out of globally. The attorney then said, and were they buying oils or were they manufacturing their own oils on their own farms?
Dave Sterling, the oils, of course, the vast majority of the oils were being purchased through brokers.
All right, and so that was June 5th right there. All right, so again, they were sworn into the court, so they had to tell the truth. Okay, so this is fact-based information. This is not me and Malie reading off something we made up. This is a part of the transcript from the actual court. So, and I'll have a link so you can see that the court case actually happened in the description on my website, so you can actually check that out and do some more of your own research to verify what we've already said, basically.
Right, and the full court case and transcripts are not available at this time, and we don't know if they will become public or not as of yet, but just what was released by doTERRA's attorneys is what we're reading from.
That's right, that's correct. All right, so the next section says that David was fired in August 2007 and Emily quit a month later. They, along with other founders, eventually began planning what would soon become doTERRA, but as the court found, assiduously avoided soliciting any Young Living distributors until they were contractually free to do so. And so that's really important to note as well. So the folks left on their own and made sure that they did not breach the prior contract.
That shows the integrity of their of each of those.
Yes,
people.
and it dispels those myths out there of people saying, well, they were trying to cross recruit or that. No, they weren't. They didn't breach their contract. So, and this is again in the press release from doTERRA. But this is another part of the transcript from the actual court case here. And it says, at one point during Emily's testimony, she was asked why she didn't quit Young Living earlier. They were impressed with her response. For one, she says, I loved and believed in the oils and wanted to further that mission. 2, I loved our employees and I was their protector. 3, I discovered our distributors and wanted to protect them as well. I really wanted to protect the company from Gary so that it would become the great company that I knew it could be. doTERRA is that great company of which Emily dreamed, and we're all proud that she's a part of it as well. And so it's really, the founders, Dave and Emily, they wanted to do what was best and what was right for themselves, for the employees, for customers, and for people around the world. And when they felt from the kind of the court transcripts here in this press release, they were not able to do that effectively with Young Living. And so that's why they created doTERRA. They wanted to create a company that leveraged their skills, talents, abilities, and gifts, but also were able to give those gifts of the earth. Because that's what doTERRA stands for, is gifts, of the earth. It's Latin, and so they want to give those gifts of the earth to everyone.
Yeah.
That's equal pay for equal work. That's obviously the world's highest quality essential oils. That's all these things.
Right. And I think they knew that, it was possible, to source the highest quality and to source them correctly and to make sure that the testing was done so that they were completely pure and there was no alteration or adulteration of the oils, because they had been working with Young Living for so long.
Yeah.
And originally, Young Living's oils, a lot of them I'm sure were of higher quality. And it wasn't until this happened that they become, slowly dissatisfied with, many aspects of Young Living and started dreaming of a bigger vision and branched out on their own in order to achieve that.
Yeah, and we can go back to that point where basically the main crux of one of these things with regards to the Seed to Seal program, because some people are like, okay, what's your point? Well, if they had, X amount of farms in 2007 and the company has grown by 10 times, 10 to 12 times in company size, but they still have the same amount of farms, then the amount of output from those company-owned farms is going to be potentially even less than what it is back in the day, because and so that's why partnering with other farms would have to be the case to outsource and meet that demand. And so that's one of the cruxes of the the argument right here. And when the founder's not able to give an exact percentage, and it's not on Seed to Seal's website, but yet Young Living folks, no offense, are saying we own our own farms, you have to look at all the facts. And that's why we're doing this video, is to give more of the facts and to help people think about this a little bit more clearly, because it's not just they own their own farms.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it than that. And doTERRA doesn't own their own farms, so therefore that's it's more than that, right?
That statement sounds really good. I mean, we own our own farms. We're able to control the environment. It does sound good in theory, but there's issues with that. Where are these farms located? And and now we know that this was a false statement. They did own some farms, but to own all their own farms and produce all their own oils and have that be able to control the quality and the environment wasn't the case with a majority of the oils. So why even put that Seed to Seal out there, because it was such a low percent that they actually owned and produced on those farms.
Right. And some people will be like, well, go to seedtoseal.com. We did. We'll have the top 6 factors to consider towards the end of this as well. And we talked about that in part 1. But we'll talk about kind of the crux of these arguments as well. All right.
Justin and Lil both quit in February of 2008 and joined doTERRA soon after. Again, the court found that neither Justin nor Lil improperly solicited Young Living distributors before their respective lockout periods expired. So they honored that contract that they were in.
Yes, and this is, again, from the press release that doTERRA came out with, verifying what the court had been able to talk about as well. So this, again, isn't coming from Lance and Malie. This is from doTERRA's press release and the court, that they did not cross-recruit. And so there's a lot of myths out there that happened. No, it did not. Okay.
In a court of law, I mean, you have the he said, she said, but in the court of law, you have to prove. You have to have proof of evidence, and when Young Living didn't have that proof of evidence, then it was thrown out.
And not just for this claim, but all the claims. There was 13 different allegations, remember, that were thrown out. So that's huge as well. All right, in fact, the court's decision shows that it was a wasteful and conniving use of our country's legal system. And that's, again, because tax dollars are being used to basically allow this court case to happen. And when that many allegations are thrown out, i.e. all of them from Young Living, then that is not a good use of our court's legal system. No,
and it created a lot of, controversy and a lot of, I think, hate between the two unhealthy competition between the two companies, which is I don't think, what either company wants. Either company, I think they, really wanted to produce high quality oils to help people to benefit their health. And so somewhere along the way, I think, it made a wrong turn.
Well, yeah, and I think it's easy to like even watch this video and not like what Malia or I are saying, or not even like us, because we're presenting the facts that contradicts almost the way of life. It's almost like when I got a story, but like when I always thought my nationality is Korean and black, and I always thought I was South Korean. And my mom, when I was 21, told me that she just told me a story of how she escaped from North Korea, and I was like, hold on. Wind that back. You said you're North Korean. She's like, yeah. And I was like, but you lived in South Korea. She was like, yeah, I escaped to South Korea. And I was like, so I thought I was South Korean, but I'm half North Korean. I mean, it's almost like being told you're a different nationality. Like, oh, it's a identity crisis.
Yeah,
a little
it
bit.
kind of rips
It's like
things out from underneath.
Yeah.
Where you thought you came from, who you thought you stood for.
Yeah, I'm like, how could you tell? And I was 21 at the time, so I had like a quarter life crisis, if you want to call it that. And I was just like, wow, my identity got shaken up a little bit, and it's similar. Like if you're with Young Living, some people will be like, I don't care what Lance and Malia says. I'm gonna keep doing me. Okay, that's fine, but at least you got the facts, right? And you can try. And there's other facts that we can't verify yet, which we'll talk about with the top 6 factors to consider. But the point I'm trying to make is like when you're in the position and you're watching this and you're like, wow, this is a lot of stuff that totally changes the game with regards to what I've been living with regards to Young Living. And some people are like, oh, Lance, you're just trying to cross recruit. That is not what doTERRA was founded on. That's not what we're trying to do. Okay, so Justin and Lil have set the tone with regards to how to do business, and it's adding value, educating people, and not cross-recruiting. So that's not our goal. Our goal is to just help educate you on the facts, make your own decision. This is, you're your own body. You got your own wallet, your own purse, your own bank account. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
We're not telling you to do anything. We're just giving you the information. So how you interpret that, now that's going to be on you as well, but I'm just acknowledging all that on the front end because I can, again, already see the comments on the YouTube. Oh, man, how can so they're just like, no, we're just presenting information. So
Yeah.
okay.
What became abundantly clear through the course of the trial was not only that these 4 did not breach their contracts, but they went to extraordinary steps to ensure they upheld their agreements.
Yes, again, going back to the integrity of the individuals, Justin and Lil not cross-recruiting and just focusing on honoring their contracts and not breaching them. Over the past 5 years, even as no evidence of wrongdoing was ever disclosed, Young Living had countless opportunities to end this travesty. So there was lots of opportunities for Young Living to drop all these allegations that were not going to be able to be proved in court, but they just wanted to, I don't know, stick it to it, I guess.
I know there was a lot more allegations between the 2 companies themselves, between Young Living and doTERRA, and a lot of that was settled out of court and dropped.
Okay.
But this they just didn't want to let go of. They wanted to be able to pin these 4 individuals that originally were their employees, top employees, and to find wrongdoing, but there was no evidence.
That's right. Nevertheless, despite having its case continually whittled down and now completely dismissed, it doggedly pursued its unfounded allegations to the bitter end. So Young Living, even though these allegations were, not fact-based and not being able to be proved, they kind of just, I don't know, didn't want to give up. And it's great to not want to give up with regards to pursuing, I don't want to say your passions, because they were passionately pursuing this as well, but with regards to like helping other people and stuff like that. But maybe they really thought that there was some wrongdoing, even though it was not fact-based.
Right. If you believe it's the truth in your heart, your soul, you're passionate about it, then you should pursue that to the end.
Yeah.
But if there's any question that maybe it's for other reasons, then you got to look at your own, your own character and see why is it more money driven, or other reasons, which, a lot of it is, of course, money driven.
Right. Yeah, we want to kind of win, right? And I feel like that's a lot of the, comments I've gotten in the past is somebody said, like, just because I have a different opinion than you, Lance, doesn't make me a hater. Well, the way that you actually express your opinions would contribute that. But I understand that when somebody is a hater, they don't view themselves as a hater. They're just somebody that's delivering information from a different perspective, right? But it's also how you deliver that too. Is it respectful? Is there no cussing? Obviously, is there no calling people out their names, calling people idiots or fools? I mean, I've gotten some weird comments on YouTube, but it's like, you know, I always wanted to uphold, be fact-based, acknowledge the truth, acknowledge what it is, and, you know, go from there. But sworn court testimony and exhibit after exhibit conclusively showed that the 13 former Young Living distributors in question, as well as thousands other now former Young Living distributors, left Young Living because they too were fed up with Gary Young's bad acts and were searching for an essential oil company that guaranteed the highest quality essential oils, transparency in its business practices, and honesty in its claims about the products. That is a key term right there, is transparency. Okay, being able to give that information so that, you know, folks don't have to go to the Seed to Seal website and not find it. Right, there's some key things to consider that we talked about in the other video, part 1, and that we'll talk about at the end of this one. But that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, to just take the Seed to Seal, you know, that statement or, you know, that marketing term and say, okay, you know, I feel good. I mean, you should do a little bit more research, because every company, obviously, they have, you know, what they claim, but you want to do more research for your own self to make sure that what they claim is actually true, correct, and not just a lie or false.
Right, and if you can't find that information, then making the conclusion or claim that it's the best or, you know, has this, and that won't be as solidified or fact-based. So we're gonna, at the end, again, show some questions to consider with regards to, you know, what would be important to think about on this topic as well.
That company was and remains doTERRA.
And that's with regards to the quality. And, you know, this is from Emily Wright, and she says, today we are gratified that an objective judge and jurors found that doTERRA had not done anything wrong and accordingly awarded no damages. And Emily Wright is one of the founding executives and head of sales and marketing at doTERRA. So that's huge. An objective judge and jurors found that doTERRA had no wrongdoing. So again, with all the people spreading stuff out there on the internets, right, about things, this is fact-based information here.
Right. Throughout this wasteful attack by Young Living and their rotating executive team, doTERRA has continued to impact more and more lives for good as we increase the doTERRA customer base in the United States and throughout the world. We look forward to a continued bright future at doTERRA.
Yep, and so that was from Emily Wright as well,
Yes.
as she is just focusing on, hey, let's add value, let's not attack. This is not a bashing session between the companies, and I know there's going to be people from Young Living watching this video, people from doTERRA, people that are not involved with either, and just looking out, being like, oh, it's like a football game. Who got hit? You know, who's scoring touchdowns? You know, like, hit him, get him. You know, it's not about that. It's just about letting you make an educated decision and thinking about that given the leaders and the founders. Because even what you see at convention or other things could be different from what's actually happening. You know, like, so this whole court case that played out, you know, if I would like to see Young Living do a press release and see what they actually say, right? And so that's one thing, you know, if or when they do that, we'll do another video on that, right? And so this is just doTERRA's press release, and we'll continue that into part 3. But yeah, this is top 6 factors to consider right now. And we did this in the first video, but they're so important. These are the cornerstone of basically what we need to have information on. The one is corporately owned farm percent of total. So if there's 10 farms that are owned, is that 100% of the total farms, or is that, you know, 1%, or, you know, what percent are corporately owned? And that's important. With Young Living, we don't know. With doTERRA, it's 0%, or we can't verify Young Living's percent.
Right. And that leads into the second question, corporate farm volume of that total. So like you said, Lance, what percent of volume from those farms of oil is sold? Right.
So if there's 10 farms and 9 of those are partnership farms and 1 of those are owned, that one corporately owned farm, how much oil is that producing? Is that all of the lavender that is being produced by the company, or is that 1% of the lavender? Like, what is that percent? We don't know for sure with Young Living. For doTERRA, it's 0%
Well,
with
and
regards to
based
that.
on sworn testimony by David Sterline, who was the executive of Young Living at that time, he said it was less than 1%.
And again, when you look at how many farms they had and growing, so Young Living has grown, so there's definitely, that's good news. But when the number of farms or the output is not, transparent or visible or available, especially on the CDC website, which it should be, it draws it into question, which is why we have a question mark there.
Right.
When you look at the partnership farm volume percent of total, and so it's kind of like a process of elimination. If there's one farm that's corporately owned and there's 10 farms total, that would imply that there's 9 farms that are partners. But if we don't know either, then it's going to be hard to do that process of elimination. With doTERRA, it's 100%. They don't own any of their farms. And I know some people are like, well, because the whole ownership part is, we have control, we can produce quality, we can do testing, here's all the tests. I know there's YouTube comments I get on here's all the tests that Young Living does and stuff like that, but it still doesn't answer these questions. Okay, so, and which farms are doing that, and there's a lot of, I think, transparency still needed on the CDC website.
Right. And as a company, I think, it should be very easy, and you should definitely know and be able to put that out there to your customers and the world, what percent. It should be very transparent.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you don't, as a company, you don't have to say, well, here, I mean, the CDC website does list locations of farms and what oils come from the farms, but not what percent of the farms are owned very clearly at all, and what volume is coming from those particular plants. So again, that's...
The fourth thing is essential oil exclusivity, what percent of total. So Young Living, it's not listed on the website, so we don't know, question mark. doTERRA does claim and listed on their website that 84% of their oils, they have exclusive contracts with the growers' farm. So again, doTERRA doesn't own the farms, but they have exclusive contracts so that those farmers can't sell their oils to other companies, which, like we talked about before, doTERRA pays a very, very fair trade wages. So we take very good care of these growers that we have these contracts with.
Basically, 16% of the oil volume, these companies that they're getting them from, or these growers, they also sell to other companies. So 16% is non-exclusive oils. With Young Living, we don't know that percent because we don't know the percent that's not owned. But from the court trial, it's the majority of the farms are not owned by Young Living. That's very clear. Majority would be 51% or more. So at least 51% of the oils that Young Living has are basically could be sold to other companies.
Right. Which, I'm not, oil expert, sourcer, but I would think that to have 84% of your oils exclusive contracts isn't an easy thing to do, because essential oils are, it is a $1 billion market. We use essential oils and all kinds of grades of essential oils in every products that we use, and they've been used for years and years. So to be able to partner with that high of a percent, it's huge.
Yeah.
And also knowing that doTERRA is very particular about the soils, the climate, and where those essential oils are sourced from.
Yeah.
That's a pretty impressive number, I think.
And you want that to be the case because you don't want your oils as a company being sold to other companies and them just being able to slap a different bottle color and label on it, like a private label would do. So some companies, they basically sell to Kroger or Walmart. It's the same, product as the name brand stuff, but it's just got the Walmart or, Kroger label on it. And so they've worked out a deal, and Kroger or Walmart can get higher margins on that because they don't have to, get all the fancy logos and stuff, but it's the same exact product, right? So it's basically like a private labal industry in the, grocery stores, but this is something to consider as well.
Well, and they also wanted to stand out. They want to be, their vision is to be the highest grade essential oil on the market.
Yeah.
You know, they want that, and they want to be able to take very good care of their growers. And when growers are overwhelmed or they don't have enough product, then, you know, they compromise quality and all that. So they want to have these partnerships where, you know, the oil is, you know, produced at the right time, and the testing is done correctly and all that. So when they're selling to all different markets and different companies, and then sometimes price comes into an issue where, you know, you can have this, you know, flexible and things go up or down in price as well. So
Right.
we're able to very stabilize the price of the oil so that we're not getting, you know, overly gouged with the price of the oil.
That's right. One of the other, you know, factors to consider is number 5 here is verify bottle batch number quality. So with Young Living, you cannot verify the bottom of the batch. There's a batch number for doTERRA that you can go to source2u.com and verify that the quality is there from a chemical constituent standpoint. With Young Living, there's no way to verify the quality of the bottles and the claims that are made. And so that is some transparency that I think that would be good. And then we could compare truly apples to apples, or apples to oranges, or apples to rocks. Who knows what it is, right? But right now it's just apples to no apples. There's no way to verify the quality claims that Young Living is making with each and every. Specifically, it'd be nice to look at single oils, because those are what both companies could have more so of, and really do a cross examination, like you would just like the trial, right? But just to cross-examine both.
Right, and I know there's a lot of different tests involved in both companies, and we won't get into all the different types of tests here, but, you know, doTERRA's, you know, testing is very extensive, and they work with really high, you know, large laboratories that are able to handle all that testing, because, you know, we're running through a lot of oils, and so, you know, we need these very large libraries to be able to do all the testing that we are now wanting to do and able to do, so that we really can ensure the quality, and also, you know, and let customers and like us know that this is the testing that's being done. Here's the website to verify, you know, your bottle.
Yes, and I know I've gotten lots of comments from folks from Young Living who are like, I've visited the Young Living farms and here's all the quality things, and I get that. But again, these questions of the top 6 factors are not being answered after all that. So this is kind of my response to all of you and saying, hey, I would like to, I'm not doubting your experience, that's great that you had it, we need more transparency from Young Living, and these are the things that we all need to consider for sure.
The last one, number 6, is fair trade wages for all stakeholders involved. So Young Living, question mark, with some transcripts that we have read, specifically with women, that they don't pay fair trade wages. I also question, when they own their farms, how are their farmers paid, especially how they treat, you know, the women, the female executives and other female employees as well. So with doTERRA, yes, we do pay very fair wages for corporate, customer service, the growers, everyone involved has a fair trade wage for sure.
And I think the best way to verify this, because some people are like, well, I'm with Young Living, I do it as a business, and they pay me fine, just fine, handsomely, with the head thing going. But what we want is, I mean, if we really want to compare this apples to apples, it's looking at what the corporate executives, specifically the women, are being paid, and what the industry standard is for based on their experience and stuff like that. And, you know, one of the reasons why, you know, Dave was fired, and why Emily left was because of that, you know, unequal pay for you know, equal work. So we want to make sure that's the case. And, you know, this was back then, and I'd like to give the benefit of the doubt and say that things have changed now, but there's no way to verify that, and that's why it's a question mark right now. And but when I go to see source2u.com, that's definitely a big part of, you know, fair wages is definitely a big part of our, you know, doTERRA's farming practices. When I go to see DeSeal, I don't get that same vibe. It's hard to find that information. So yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the compensation plan, you know, you can compare that with both companies. You know, that's kind of it's a completely different, you know, issue. There is how the wellness advocates are whatever Young Living calls their distributors.
Yeah.
How they're paid out is based on, their activity, their level, their rank, how hard they work. That's different than, corporate or, their customer service, their employees,
Right.
which they now, have all over the world. We have different warehouses in many different countries now, corporate offices all over the world. And then, of course, the growers, I think,
Yeah.
is a huge thing, because we're seeing the impact and the how it's changed their lives.
Yeah.
And because they don't have the opportunity to go get a job anywhere else. They have
Yeah.
very limited opportunities in their country, in their land, where they live, and where they'll stay.
Yeah. So corporate equal pay for equal work, that includes the executives, specifically the female ones, the employees, the female ones as well, and that includes the growers, whether they're female or not, in whatever country they're in. So knowing, that there is a fair wage, and that is defined in what is the industry paying for this level of skill set and experience, and is that up to par? Is that fair? Because half the amount of compensation that's not fair. Like that's what Emily was saying at that time, and so. I don't know if, I'd be curious to know what that executive is being paid now, if there's any, the corporate executives for Young Living now. I think there was at least, one or so that I saw on their website. So I'd like to, it's like, how much do you make? That's kind of a rude question, but just.
Well, hopefully they have made some changes since,
Yeah.
This issue has arrived, and they've learned some lessons from this.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Yeah. Okay, well, that concludes this video. Make sure to watch part 3, where we're just going to give an overview of each company a little bit, and again, kind of go back to that top 6 factors to consider, because this is the cornerstone of the Young Living versus doTERRA lawsuit and the outcome that came about. And make sure to also hit the subscribe button so you can catch more video updates in the future, and check the links in the description. We'll have a lot more information on some of the things that we're talking about here, so you can do your own research besides what we've already mentioned about source2u.com, which I highly recommend you check out, whether you're with doTERRA or not, and go check out seed2seal.com, whether you're with Young Living or not. This is just information that you can watch this video with, go check those websites out and see what we're saying is true. Verify that. I know both websites are constantly being updated, so at the time of this video you may watch this and be like, oh, well, this websites are different now, Lance, but based on what I've seen and what we've done research on, this is what we have the most current information on. Okay, so there'll be more update videos if we get more information. So again, this isn't the end all be all, because some people are like, well, you didn't say this and you didn't say that. And it's like, calm down. There's an oil for that. Okay, so all right. Well, again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.